The diplomatic vessel hung in the darkness of space like a small silver fish swimming toward a shark. Inside, Hyun-woo pressed his face against the viewport and watched the Valkyrie battleship grow larger. It was massive, covered in dark metal that looked like overlapping scales. Weapons bristled from every surface. This ship alone could destroy Earth's entire defense fleet without breaking a sweat. "First time seeing one up close?" asked Da-eun, the mission's medical officer. She stood beside him, her reflection ghostly in the glass. "Yeah," Hyun-woo said quietly. "The pictures don't do it justice. Nothing about the Valkyrie is small," she replied. "Remember that when we meet them. They're going to be intimidating." Hyun-woo was a linguist and cultural specialist. He had spent 3 years studying everything humanity knew about the Valkyrie Empire, which wasn't much. The wolf-like aliens controlled 15 star systems and had crushed every species that opposed them. They valued strength, honor, and loyalty above all else. They organized themselves into packs with strict hierarchies, and they had never agreed to meet with humans before. This meeting was happening on Kashan 4, a dead moon orbiting a gas giant, neutral territory. Both sides had agreed to bring small delegations and no weapons. It was supposed to be safe. Captain Ji-won's voice crackled over the intercom. "We're docking in 5 minutes. Everyone to the airlock. And remember, let Ambassador Taemin do the talking. We're here to observe and support. Nothing more." Re. Hyun-woo pulled on his formal jacket and joined the others in the corridor. There were 6 humans total. Ambassador Taemin led them, an older man with silver hair who had negotiated treaties with a dozen alien species. Behind him came Bo Kyung, the security chief, though she wore no visible weapons. Then Hyun-woo and Da-eun, followed by 2 junior diplomats, whose names Hyun-woo could never remember. The airlock hissed open. Cold air rushed in, carrying a smell like wet stone and something else. Something animal. The meeting chamber was huge, carved from the moon's native rock. Lights hung from the ceiling on chains. In the center of the room stood a long table made of dark wood, and on the far side of that table stood the Valkyrie. Hyun-woo's breath caught in his throat. They were enormous. The smallest stood at least 7 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in thick fur that ranged from silver to black. Their faces were lupine, with elongated snouts full of sharp teeth and eyes that gleamed with intelligence. They wore armor that looked ceremonial, etched with symbols Hyun-woo recognized as pack markings. The largest Valkyrie stood in the center. His fur was coal black with streaks of gray, and his armor was decorated with what looked like claws. This had to be High Alpha Macros, the one who had agreed to this meeting. Beside him stood a smaller Valkyrie, maybe 5 feet tall. A child. No, they called them cubs. The young one wore a small version of the adult armor and kept glancing up at Macros with obvious pride. Ambassador Taemin stepped forward and began the formal greeting in the Valkyrie language. Hyun-woo had helped him practice the pronunciation for weeks. The words came out carefully, respectfully. Macros tilted his head, listening. Then he responded in a voice like grinding stone, speaking in heavily accented English. "We understand your tongue. We will use it." The cub beside him made a small sound, almost like a whine. Macros placed one massive hand on the young one's head, and the cub immediately fell silent. "This is Riven, my youngest," Macros said. He insisted on attending. To learn. Ambassador Taemin smiled. "We are honored that you would trust us with your child's presence." "I trust nothing," Macros replied. "But I am curious. Your species is weak. Your ships are slow. Your worlds are few. Yet you asked to meet. Why?" The bluntness caught Taemin off guard, but he recovered quickly. "We may be young, but we have resources you need. Medical technology, agricultural techniques, and..." A deep groan echoed through the chamber. Everyone froze. The groan came again, louder. Metal shrieked. Hyunwoo looked up and saw one of the support beams bending. Cracks spread across its surface like black lightning. "Move!" Bokyung shouted. The beam snapped. It fell like a tree, bringing chunks of ceiling with it. Hyunwoo dove to the side as debris crashed down where he had been standing. Dust filled the air, thick and choking. Alarms began to wail. When the dust cleared enough to see, Hyunwoo realized the room had been split in half. A wall of rubble separated the humans from the Valkyrie, and from somewhere in that pile of broken stone and twisted metal, he heard a sound that made his blood run cold. A child crying, "Riven!" Macros's roar shook the walls. The High Alpha was on the other side of the debris field, visible through gaps in the wreckage. Other Valkyrie warriors appeared beside him, weapons drawn despite the no-weapons agreement. They must have had them hidden. The crying continued, weak and terrified. Hyunwoo spotted movement in the rubble. Small fingers, covered in gray fur, reaching out from beneath a slab of stone. "The cub is trapped," Daeun whispered beside him. "On our side." Ambassador Taemin held up his hands in a calming gesture, though Hyunwoo wasn't sure who he was trying to calm. "High Alpha, we will help. Let us, you move toward my son. I will consider it an attack." Macros snarled. More Valkyrie appeared, at least 20, all armed. Their weapons hummed with power, pointed at the humans, but they weren't moving to save their cub. They were watching, tense, and ready to kill, but not acting. Hyunwoo realized the problem. The Valkyrie couldn't reach Riven without coming through the human side of the chamber. And they didn't trust the humans not to use the cub as a hostage. Their pride and their protocols were at war with their instincts. Meanwhile, the crying was getting weaker. "We need to do something," Hyunwoo said. "If we move, they'll shoot," Bokyung hissed. "Look at them. They're 1 second away from opening fire. Then we don't move," Taemin said firmly. "We wait for their decision." But Hyunwoo was looking at those small gray fingers, watching them tremble and reach for help that wasn't coming. He thought about his nephew back on Earth, about how that little boy trusted adults to keep him safe. The crying stopped. That was worse than the crying. Hyunwoo took a step forward. The moment Hyunwoo moved, every weapon in the room shifted to point at him. Red targeting dots appeared on his chest. Dozens of them, overlapping like bloody stars. "Hyunwoo, stop!" Ambassador Taemin's voice was sharp with panic, but Hyunwoo wasn't stopping. He walked toward the pile of rubble where Riven was trapped, his hands raised to show he meant no harm. His heart hammered so hard he could hear it in his ears. His legs felt like water. But he kept walking. "I'm just going to help," he said, speaking to the Valkyrie across the debris field. Macros growled, a sound so deep it vibrated in Hyunwoo's bones. "Stay away from my son, human. He's hurt," Hyunwoo replied. He was close enough now to see Riven clearly. The young Valkyrie was pinned beneath a stone slab that had to weigh several hundred pounds. Blood matted the gray fur on the cub's head. His eyes were closed. "He's not crying anymore. That means he's getting worse. You will not touch him." Macros's voice promised death. Hyunwoo knelt beside the rubble anyway. Up close, he could see Riven's chest moving, but barely. The breathing was shallow and fast. The cub's face was twisted in pain even though he was unconscious. Behind him, Hyunwoo heard Daeun's footsteps. "What are you doing?" he asked without looking back. "Same thing you are," she said. "Something stupid." She knelt beside him and pulled a small medical scanner from her jacket. "I'm not a pediatrician, and I've definitely never treated an alien child before. But I know trauma when I see it." She ran the scanner over Riven's body. It beeped urgently. "Fractured ribs," she said. "Possible internal bleeding. Definitely a concussion. If we don't get him out soon, he'll die." "Then we get him out," Hyunwoo said. They started pulling away smaller pieces of debris, working as fast as they dared. Every movement sent dust into the air. Every scrape of stone against stone made the Valkyrie weapons track closer. Hyun-woo could feel the targeting dots on his back like physical weight. "You are making a grave mistake," Makros called out. But there was something different in his voice now. Not just anger. Something else. Something that sounded almost like hope. "Maybe." Hyun-woo grunted, shoving aside a chunk of ceiling. "But your son is dying. Someone has to do something." A new voice spoke from the Valkyrie side. Female, sharp. "Why? Why would you risk your life for a cub that is not your pack?" Hyun-woo didn't know how to explain it. How could he tell them that humans had this thing inside them? This inability to watch children suffer? That seeing Riven trapped and hurt had flipped some switch in his brain that turned off logic and turned on pure instinct? "Because he's a child," was all he said. Together, he and Da-eun worked at the large slab pinning Riven down. It was too heavy to lift, but they managed to shift it slightly, creating just enough space to pull the cub free. Hyun-woo reached under the stone, felt soft fur and warm blood, and carefully slid Riven out. The young Valkyrie was so light. Hyun-woo had expected something heavier, but the cub couldn't have weighed more than 60 pounds. He cradled Riven against his chest, supporting the small head, being careful of the injuries. Blood soaked into Hyun-woo's jacket. Riven's blood was darker than human blood, almost purple. It smelled like copper and something else, something wild. Da-eun immediately began checking vital signs. Pulse is weak. Breathing irregular. "We need to stabilize him now." "Unwell." Da-eun. No. "Unwell." She pulled out an emergency medical kit and started working. Hyun-woo just held the cub, keeping him as still as possible. Riven's face was so young. The features were alien, yes, but there was something universal about the softness of youth. The cub's eyes moved beneath closed lids. Dreaming or dying? Hyun-woo couldn't tell. On the other side of the debris, the Valkyrie had gone completely silent. Hyun-woo looked up and saw them all staring. Makros had lowered his weapon slightly, and his eyes were locked on his son. Without thinking, Hyun-woo leaned down and pressed his lips to Riven's forehead, right between the small, pointed ears. It was what his mother used to do when he was sick as a child, a gesture of comfort, of protection, of hope. The kiss left a small, clean spot on the blood-matted fur. He heard a sharp intake of breath from the Valkyrie side. When he looked up, every single warrior had gone rigid. They stared at him with wide eyes. Their weapons forgotten, Makros took a step forward. His weapon clattered to the ground. "You," the High Alpha's voice was barely a whisper. "You gave him the brow touch." Hyun-woo didn't understand. It's something we do. For sick children. It means they're safe." It means the same for us," said the female voice from before. A silver-furred Valkyrie stepped into view beside Makros. She wore armor marked with scholarly symbols. "But we only give it to pack. To family. You just claimed pack right over a High Alpha's son." "I didn't mean," Hyun-woo started. "It does not matter what you meant," Makros interrupted. But his voice wasn't angry anymore. It was something else. A wad, maybe. "It matters what you did." The High Alpha reached down and picked up a piece of rubble. With careful precision, he threw it against a wall. The impact made a loud crack. The other Valkyrie immediately began doing the same, clearing a path through the debris field. Within minutes, they had created a gap large enough to pass through. Makros came through first, moving slowly, his empty hands visible. He approached Hyun-woo and looked down at his son. The massive warrior's eyes were wet. "How is he?" Makros asked Da-eun. "Stable," she replied, still working. "But he needs real medical care. A hospital. Surgery. Probably. Our ship has medical facilities," Makros said. He looked at Hyun-woo. "Will you come? Both of you? Riven has accepted your pack claim. He will need you there when he wakes." I don't understand what that means, Hyunwoo admitted. The silver-furred female stepped forward. I am Bo-Ra, scholar warrior of the Makros Pack. What it means is simple. You protected our cub when you had no obligation to do so. You risked your life when the logical choice was to stay back. And you gave him the brow touch, marking him as yours to protect. She paused, studying Hyunwoo with intense golden eyes. By our law, by our custom, you have proven yourself worthy of pack bond. The High Alpha is offering you a place among us. It is the highest honor we can give. Hyunwoo looked down at Riven, still unconscious in his arms. The cub's breathing was stronger now. Thanks to Da-Eun's work. A little life saved. Barely. By pure luck and stubbornness. I'll come, he said. Of course I'll come. Makros nodded slowly. Then, deliberately, he lowered himself to one knee in front of Hyunwoo. Behind him, every other Valkyrie did the same. Ambassador Taemin's shocked voice came from behind. Did they just bow? No, Bo-Ra said quietly. We knelt. It is what Pack does when a new member proves themselves through courage. She looked at Hyunwoo and smiled, showing all her sharp teeth. Welcome to the Pack, human. The Valkyrie Medical Bay was nothing like human hospitals. Everything was larger, built for bodies that stood 7 feet tall. The beds were more like platforms, covered in soft materials that smelled faintly of pine. The lights were dimmer than Hyunwoo expected, easier on sensitive eyes. Riven lay on one of these platforms, surrounded by medical equipment that hummed and beeped. Da-Eun stood beside the Valkyrie doctors, comparing notes. She had been working with them for 6 hours straight, teaching them about the medicines she had used to stabilize the cub. Hyunwoo sat in a corner, watching. His jacket was still stained with Riven's blood. Someone had offered him clean clothes, but he hadn't found the energy to change yet. You should rest, Bo-Ra said, appearing beside him like a ghost. For something so large, she moved very quietly. The cub will sleep for many hours still. I told his father I would stay, Hyunwoo replied. Makros is speaking with your ambassador and captain. Explaining what happened. Explaining what you did. Bo-Ra sat down. Though the chair creaked under her weight, they are not happy with you. That made Hyunwoo smile, though there was no humor in it. I broke protocol. Endangered the mission. Made decisions above my authority. Yeah. I imagine they're pretty angry. But you saved a life. Yes. And now you are pack-bound to a High Alpha's bloodline, whether you understand what that means or not. Hyunwoo looked at her. So explain it to me. Bo-Ra was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. We Valkyrie are not like your humans. We do not make friends easily. We do not trust outsiders. Our whole society is built on pack structure, on family bonds that go deeper than blood. When someone joins a pack, they are tied to it forever. They protect the pack's young. They fight for the pack's honor. They die for the pack if needed. That sounds intense, Hyunwoo said. It is the only way we know, Bo-Ra replied. And what you did today, what you did for Riven, is something we thought only pack-bonded beings could do. We believed that other species, especially weak species like humans, would never risk themselves for young that were not their own. That's a pretty dim view of the universe. It is a realistic view. We have met many species. Most are selfish. They care only for their own survival. Bo-Ra looked at Riven, her expression softening. But you proved us wrong. Eights. Bo-Ra, you did not hesitate. You did not calculate. You simply acted. That is pack virtue. That is what we respect. One of the Valkyrie doctors approached. His fur was white with age, and he moved with careful dignity. The cub is stable. The surgery went well. He will wake soon. The cub? Thank you, Hyunwoo said. The old doctor studied him with curiosity. In 300 years of practice, I have never treated a patient who was saved by an alien. You are an unusual human. We. I'm really not, Hyunwoo said. Any of us would have done the same thing. Would they? Bo-ra asked. Your ambassador did not move. Your security chief did not move. Only you and your healer acted. Before Hyunwoo could respond, Riven stirred. The cub's eyes fluttered open, unfocused and confused. He made a small, whimpering sound. Hyunwoo stood and moved to the bedside. Hey, it's okay. You're safe. Riven's golden eyes found him. For a moment, there was no recognition. Then something clicked. The cub reached out with one small hand, and Hyunwoo took it without thinking. Hurt, Riven whispered in heavily accented English. I know, Hyunwoo said gently. But you're going to be okay. The doctors fixed you up. You saved me. It wasn't a question. The cub said it with absolute certainty. Yeah, me and Da-un, we couldn't just leave you there. Riven's grip tightened on his hand. Father says you are Pac now. He says you gave me the brow touch. That means you are my guardian. Hyunwoo glanced at Bo-ra, who nodded confirmation. He looked back at Riven. I guess I am. The cub's face split into a smile, showing small, sharp teeth. Good. I like you. You smell funny. But you are brave. Despite everything, Hyunwoo laughed. You smell pretty weird to me too, kid. Over the next 3 days, Hyunwoo and Da-un remained on the Velkari flagship as honored guests. Ambassador Taemin and the others returned to the human ship, though Captain Ji-won sent daily messages demanding updates. The messages went from concerned to frustrated to outright angry. Earth Command wanted Hyunwoo extracted. They saw the situation as politically dangerous. If the Velkari were claiming pack bonds over humans, it could be seen as an attempt at control. Other species would think humanity was weak, allowing themselves to be absorbed into an alien culture. But Hyunwoo refused to leave, partly because Riven would not let him go. The cub had become attached, following him everywhere, sitting beside him during meals, sleeping in the same room. But also because Hyunwoo was learning things about the Velkari that no human had ever known. Bo-ra spent hours teaching him their customs. How they greeted each other with scent marking. How they settled disputes through ritual combat that looked savage but rarely caused serious injury. How they mourned their dead by howling together under the stars. Your species is not what we expected, Bo-ra admitted one evening. They sat in an observation deck, watching stars drift past. We thought humans were like the Tarek. Ambitious. Greedy. Willing to sacrifice anything for power. Some of us are, Hyunwoo said honestly. But not all. That is the puzzle, Bo-ra said. You have no pack structure. No clear hierarchy. Yet you still protect your weak. You still sacrifice for others. How is this possible? Hyunwoo thought about it. Maybe we don't need pack structure to care about each other. Maybe humans just have this thing inside us that hates seeing others suffer. Especially children. It is not logical. No, Hyunwoo agreed. But it's human. On the 4th day, Macros summoned Hyunwoo to his chambers. The High Alpha's quarters were surprisingly simple. No decorations. No displays of wealth. Just functional furniture and weapons mounted on walls. Sit, Macros said, gesturing to a chair. Hyunwoo sat. The chair was too big, making him feel like a child in his father's office. I have spoken with your leaders, Macros began. They want you back. They believe I am holding you hostage. Are you? No. But I would not blame them for thinking so. What I did, claiming pack right over you, is complicated. It creates obligations on both sides. What kind of obligations? Macros leaned forward. You saved my son. By our law, that means you have proven yourself worthy of pack bond. But pack bond is not a small thing. It means you are responsible for Riven's well-being. It means you have a voice in decisions that affect our family. It means other Velkari will see you as one of us. That doesn't sound so bad, Hyunwoo said. "It also means that if you betray us, if you harm Riven, or use your position for personal gain, I will kill you myself." Macros said it calmly, as if discussing the weather. "And then, I will go to war with your entire species." Hyunwoo swallowed hard. "Understood. Do you accept this bond? Truly? Because if you do, everything changes. Not just for you, but for relations between our peoples." Hyunwoo thought about Riven, about the scared cub trapped under rubble. He thought about the moment when he had made the choice to act, knowing it might get him killed. That choice had felt right then, and it still felt right now. "I accept," he said. Macros nodded slowly. "Then we have much work to do." News of what happened on Kashyyyk 4 spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Within a week, every major species knew the story. A human had saved a Velkari High Alpha's cub and been claimed as packkin. The reactions were mixed. Some saw it as a brilliant diplomatic move. Others saw it as humanity bowing to a stronger power. The Velkari High Council was split down the middle. Hyunwoo watched the news feeds in his quarters aboard the human ship. Captain Ji-won had finally convinced him to return, though he visited Riven every day via shuttle. The cub was healing well, already back on his feet and demanding to spar with the other young Velkari. "You've created quite the mess," Ji-won said, standing in the doorway. She was a tall woman with short-cut hair and a permanent look of exhaustion. "Earth Command is having fits. Half of them want to give you a medal. The other half want to court-martial you. What do you want?" Hyunwoo asked. She smiled. "I want to know how you managed to accidentally create the most significant diplomatic breakthrough in human history, while also causing the biggest political headache I've ever seen." "It wasn't planned," Hyunwoo said. "The best things never are." Ji-won sat down across from him. "But we have a problem." "A big one." She pulled up a holographic display. It showed a sector of space marked in red. "The Terek Dominion. They've been watching our negotiations with the Velkari, and they're not happy about it." The Tarek were an insectoid species that controlled a smaller but densely populated empire. They had been rivals with the Velkari for centuries, fighting over resources and territory. The idea of the Velkari allying with humans clearly bothered them. "What are they doing?" Hyunwoo asked, making threatening gestures. "Moving warships near our borders, sending diplomatic messages that are barely polite." Ji-won's expression was grim. "They think we're playing both sides. That we're trying to gain power by attaching ourselves to the Velkari. That's not what's happening. I know that. You know that. But the Tarek don't trust anyone, and they see weakness as an invitation to attack." As if summoned by their conversation, an alert flashed across the display. Ji-won's face went pale as she read it. "They're attacking Kashyyyk 4, she whispered. "Right now." The station was under siege. Hyunwoo watched from the bridge of the human ship as Terek vessels swarmed the neutral moon like angry insects. Their ships were organic-looking, all curves and chitin, weapons glowing a sickly green. "Why would they attack a neutral station?" someone asked. "To provoke a response," Ji-won said. "They want the Velkari to break the peace treaty by defending the station with military force. It gives them an excuse to declare war." "What about the people on the station?" Hyunwoo demanded. "There are still diplomats there. Scientists. Civilians. I know." Ji-won's hands moved across her controls. "But we're not a military ship. We have no weapons, no shield strong enough to withstand a real attack. If we go in there, we die." On the view screen, Makros's face appeared. The High Alpha looked furious, his fur standing on end. "Captain Ji-won, I am taking my ship to defend the station. I suggest you leave the system. This is not your fight." "The hell it isn't," Ji-won shot back. "There are humans on that station too." "Then leave them," Macros growled. "Better some die than all die. Your ship cannot help us." He was right, and everyone on the bridge knew it. The human ship was designed for diplomacy, not combat. Against Terek warships, it would last maybe 5 minutes, but Hyun-woo was thinking about something else. How many people are still on the station? A junior officer checked. Approximately 200. Mixed species. Mostly support staff and researchers. How many are children? The officer blinked. 35, sir. Mostly Velkari cubs who were brought along by their parents. And a few Tarek young. Ironically, Hyun-woo stood up. We have to evacuate them. Did you not hear what I just said? Ji-won snapped. We can't fight those ships. Then we don't fight? Hyun-woo said. We rescue. The Terek want to provoke the Velkari into breaking the treaty. They're not interested in us. If we go in fast, evacuate the civilians, and get out, they might let us go. Might is not good enough. It's better than leaving children to die. Ji-won stared at him. Then, slowly, she smiled. It was not a happy smile. You're going to get us all killed one of these days. Probably. Hyun-woo agreed. She turned to her crew. All right, people, we're going in. Engineering, I want every bit of power you can give me to the shields. Navigation, plot the fastest course to the station. Medical, prepare to receive wounded. Captain, Makros said from the view screen. What are you doing? Something stupid, Ji-won replied. Just like your new pack brother. Must be contagious. The human ship dove toward Cation 4, while the Terek fleet hammered at the station's shields. Explosions lit up space like fireworks. The Velkari battleship returned fire, its weapons tearing through Tarek vessels with brutal efficiency. But there were too many Terek ships. For every one Makros destroyed, 2 more appeared. The human ship slipped through the chaos, too small to be a priority target. They docked at an emergency airlock on the station's lower levels. The moment the seal was secure, Hyun-woo led a team inside. The station was chaos. Alarms wailed. Emergency lights flashed red. Debris floated in sections where gravity had failed. And everywhere, there were people running, screaming, trying to find safety that didn't exist. Children first, Hyun-woo shouted. Find the cubs and young ones. Move. Da-eun was already there, directing people toward the airlock. She had set up a triage system, marking the injured with colored tags. Red for critical, yellow for serious, green for minor. There was a lot of red. Hyun-woo found the first group of cubs huddled in a classroom. 5. Velkari young, none older than 10, clustered around a teacher who was trying desperately to keep them calm. When they saw Hyun-woo, one of them cried out, You're Riven's guardian. Father told us about you. That's right, Hyun-woo said, kneeling down to their level. They nodded, their ears pinned back in fear but their eyes trusting. Good. Follow me. He led them through the damaged corridors, stepping over debris, avoiding sections where the walls had ruptured. Behind him, other crew members were bringing more children. Velkari cubs, Tarek larvae, even a few humans. They loaded them all onto the ship. The evacuation took 20 minutes that felt like 20 hours. Every second, Hyun-woo expected the station to tear apart, or a Terek weapon to punch through the hull. When the last child was aboard, Da-eun did a final count. We got them all. Every single one. What about the adults? Hyun-woo asked. Those who could walk are coming now. The rest. She shook her head. Ji-won's voice crackled over the comm. We're at capacity. We need to leave now. 10 more seconds. Da-eun pleaded. There are still people coming. Those 10 seconds stretched into 30. 40. A stream of injured and terrified people poured through the airlock. Scientists, engineers, diplomats, all of them running for their lives. Then, the station shuddered. A massive explosion rocked the structure, and the lights went out completely. That's it, Ji-won shouted. We're leaving now, or we're not leaving at all. The airlock sealed. The human ship detached and burned hard away from the station. Behind them, Kashin 4 was dying. Its shields had failed. Its structure was coming apart. The Velkari battleship was still fighting, but even Macros couldn't hold off an entire fleet alone. Hyunwoo stood in the cargo bay, surrounded by crying children and wounded adults. He had saved them. But at what cost? The station was lost. The peace talks were ruined. And the Terek had won. Then Bora appeared beside him. She must have been on the station too. You came back, she said quietly. You could have run. But you came back for our cubs. Of course I did, Hyunwoo said. They're children. Bora looked at the Velkari young huddled together, scared, but alive. You are not like any species we have ever met. I keep hearing that, Hyunwoo said tiredly. Perhaps, Bora said. It is time the galaxy learned what humans truly are. The human ship limped through space, overloaded with refugees, and running on emergency power. The Tarek fleet had let them go, just as Hyunwoo predicted. They weren't interested in a diplomatic vessel. They wanted the Velkari, and they were getting their wish. Behind them, the battle continued. Makros's flagship fought alone against overwhelming odds. More Velkari ships were coming, but they wouldn't arrive in time. The station was lost. Soon the flagship would be too. Hyunwoo sat in the cargo bay with the children. They had stopped crying but still huddled together, seeking comfort in numbers. Riven was there too. The cub had been on the station for advanced medical checkups when the attack started. Now he sat, pressed against Hyunwoo's side, trembling. Is father going to die? Riven asked quietly. Hyunwoo wanted to lie, to offer comfort. But Velkari valued honesty above all else. I don't know. He's fighting hard. He always fights hard, Riven said. But there are so many enemies. Daun approached, looking exhausted. She had been treating wounded for hours without rest. We have a problem. We're too heavy. The engines can't maintain speed with this many people aboard. At this rate, we'll be sitting ducks if any Terek ships decide to chase us. Can we dump cargo? Hyunwoo asked. We already did. Everything non-essential is gone. The problem is people. We have too many people. Bo-Ra appeared from the shadows. The scholar warrior had been helping organize the refugees, using her natural authority to keep order. Then, some of us must leave. In C? End quote. Leave where? Daun demanded. We're in the middle of space. There are escape pods. Bo-Ra said calmly. The Velkari can survive in them until rescue arrives. It makes sense. You saved our cubs. Now let us save you. No, Hyunwoo said firmly. We're not throwing people into space. It is logical, Bo-Ra insisted. Better some survive than all die. Before Hyunwoo could argue, Jiwon's voice came over the intercom. All hands, brace for impact. We have incoming. Hyunwoo grabbed Riven and held on. The ship shook violently as something hit the shields. The lights flickered. Children screamed. Report, Jiwon shouted. Terek fighter wing, someone responded. They're not letting us go after all. More impacts. The shields were failing. Hyunwoo could hear the strain in the ship's engines, the groan of metal being pushed beyond its limits. They were going to die here. All of them. The children he had saved would die anyway. Then something massive appeared on the view screen. A Velkari battleship. But not Makros's. This one was marked with different symbols. And behind it came more ships. A whole fleet of them. Reinforcements, Bo-Ra breathed. The High Council sent reinforcements. The Velkari fleet tore into the Tarek fighters like wolves among rabbits. The human ships suddenly had room to breathe. But the battle wasn't over. More Tarek ships were arriving every minute. This was turning into a full-scale war. Captain G1, a new voice said over the comm. It was old, female, and carried absolute authority. This is High Commander Youngja of the Velkari Second Fleet. My scans show you are carrying cubs. Is this correct? Yes, Commander, G1 replied. 35 Velkari young, plus children of other species. Then you are under our protection. Fall back to safe distance. We will handle the Tariq. But as the human ship turned to retreat, sensors picked up something worse. A massive Tariq dreadnought was emerging from hyperspace. This wasn't a raiding party anymore. This was an invasion force. They're going for the station, someone said. What's left of it? Hyun-woo looked at the tactical display. The station was still barely standing, its lower levels intact even if the upper sections were destroyed. And in those lower levels, according to the sensors, there were still life signs. People who had been too injured to evacuate. People trapped in sealed sections, waiting for rescue that would never come. We have to go back, Hyun-woo said. Everyone turned to stare at him. Are you insane? Da-eun asked. That dreadnought will tear the station apart in minutes. Anyone still there is already dead. Not yet, Hyun-woo said, pointing at the life signs. Look, they're still alive. We can't just leave them. We cannot even defend ourselves, Bora said. How can we mount a rescue? The same way we did before, Hyun-woo replied. We go in fast, get them out, and run. The Tariq are focused on the Velkari fleet. They might not even notice us. Ji-won was quiet for a long moment. Then she laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. You know what? Why not? We've already done one impossible thing today. Let's go for two. She opened a channel to the Velkari fleet. Hi Commander Youngja, this is Captain Ji-won. We're going back for the survivors on the station. Request covering fire. There was a pause. Then Youngja's voice came back. And she was laughing too. You humans are completely mad. I approve. You will have your covering fire. The human ship turned back toward the dying station, while the Velkari fleet engaged the Tariq dreadnought. It was a beautiful, terrible sight. Ships exchanging fire at close range, plasma and missiles lighting up the darkness. The silence of space hiding the screams and explosions. They docked at the same airlock as before. This time, Hyun-woo led the rescue team deeper into the station, into sections that were barely holding together. They found people trapped in medical bays, in laboratories, in sealed compartments where the air was running out. One by one, they pulled them free. A Velkari engineer with a crushed leg. A human scientist who had been knocked unconscious. A group of maintenance workers huddled in a storage room. But as they were loading the last survivors, the station lurched. The dreadnought had fired on it directly. The structure was coming apart. We need to leave now, Da-eun shouted. Wait, Hyun-woo said. His scanner showed one more life sign, faint but present. In a sealed chamber, 2 levels down. There's one more. We don't have time, Bora said. There's always time, Hyun-woo replied. And he ran. He found the chamber and forced the door open. Inside was a small Tariq child, no more than 5 years old by their species standards. The larva was curled in a corner, chittering in fear. Hyun-woo's translator struggled with the young Tariq's speech, but the meaning was clear enough. Mama? Mama gone? It's okay, Hyun-woo said, kneeling down. I'm going to get you out of here. He picked up the Tariq child carefully. The larva was surprisingly light, mostly exoskeleton. It clung to him with small claws, still calling for its mother. He ran back to the airlock, the station shaking apart around him. Debris fell. Walls buckled. The air itself seemed to scream. He made it through the airlock with seconds to spare. The ship undocked and burned away as the station finally collapsed into itself, torn apart by the dreadnought's weapons. In the cargo bay, Hyun-woo set down the Tariq child. The other cubs, Velkari and otherwise, stared at it. Then Riven walked forward and offered the larva a piece of dried meat from his ration pack. Food, Riven said simply. You are scared. Food helps. The Tariq child took the offering and ate it, still shaking but no longer alone. The battle ended 3 hours later. The Terek fleet retreated, having taken too many losses to continue. The Velkari had won, but at great cost. Kashan, 4, was destroyed. Dozens of ships had been lost on both sides, and the fragile peace was shattered. But something else had happened too. Something that would echo through history. 1 week after the battle, High Commander Yongja called a gathering on her flagship. Representatives from every species that had lost people on the station were invited. Including the Tarek, Hyunwoo stood beside Makros, who had survived the battle with his ship damaged but intact. Riven held Hyunwoo's hand on one side. On the other side stood the young Tarek child, its mother having been found alive among the other survivors. Yongja addressed the assembly. "We came here to discuss trade. Instead, we found war. But in that war, we also found something unexpected. We found beings who would risk everything to save children that were not their own. Who would face death to protect the helpless. Who would show mercy even to enemy young." She looked directly at Hyunwoo. "The humans call him a translator, a specialist. But we Velkari know the truth. He is pack kin. He has proven it through action, through courage, through sacrifice. And if this one human can show such virtue, how many more are there?" Murmurs spread through the crowd. "I propose," Yongja continued, "a new alliance, not of masters and servants, not of strong and weak, but of pack brothers who have bled together and protected each other's young. Let the Terek see what they attacked. Not weakness, but strength of a different kind." The Tarek ambassador stepped forward. He was an older male, his chitin scarred from many battles. He said, pointing at the young larva, "When you had no reason to, when we were your enemies, this act, we do not understand it, but we cannot ignore it. One we work aiming in peace, one we work to way." He bowed, a gesture that made the Velkari gasp. Tarek never bowed. "Perhaps," the ambassador said, "we have all been wrong about what strength means." Months later, Hyunwoo stood in the observation deck of the new diplomatic station. This one was built jointly, with human, Velkari, and even Tarek contributions. A symbol of what was possible when different species chose cooperation over conflict. Riven ran up to him, now fully healed and grown taller. "Father says you are returning to Earth soon." "For a visit," Hyunwoo said. "I have to report to my government, explain everything that happened. Will you come back?" "Of course. I'm Pac, remember?" Riven smiled. "Good. Because Bo-Ra says she needs your help establishing the cultural exchange program. And Da-Un is teaching our doctors new techniques. And everyone wants to meet the human who changed everything." "I didn't change everything," Hyunwoo said. "I just did what felt right." "Maybe that is the point," Riven said wisely. "Maybe doing what feels right is how everything changes." Hyunwoo looked out at the stars, at the ships moving peacefully through space. Human vessels, flying alongside Velkari battleships, trade ships from a dozen species, all working together, all because one human had kissed a fallen cub's brow and the alphas had lowered their weapons. That was the moment when everything changed. Not through force or cunning, but through simple compassion. Through the choice to save a life. When logic said to stay back. Through the recognition that some things protecting the innocent, showing mercy, acting with kindness, were universal values that transcended species. And maybe, just maybe, that was humanity's real strength. Not weapons, or technology, or clever diplomacy, but the stubborn, illogical, beautiful refusal to let children suffer when they could do something about it. That was worth more than all the warships in the galaxy.